Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea. Welcome back to Electric Ideas. I'm your host, Whitney Baker, and this is a mini jolt, a short episode where I share practices and tools for moms who are looking to create a sense of self-connection and rest and joy right in the messy middle of motherhood. So whether it is personal or world events, it seems like so many moms in my community lately are feeling overextended. I know in my own family that school and activities are in full ramped up mode, and it just happens to be that both my husband and I are in pretty full seasons at work. And for all of us women, this is a time when it's easy to let our own needs and desires and well-being fall off the list because we get swept up in the whirlwind and we don't want to drop any balls. However, I know that none of us want to go into the holiday season, which we know is right around the corner, feeling depleted. So today I'm sharing from a place of recognizing the fullness of many of your lives and acknowledging that we all have ebbs and flows, but also knowing that even though you're stretched, you want to feel better. And that's why what I'm sharing today is really a handful of small acts of rest and resets that you can realistically weave into your days to support yourself, even when you're feeling a little stressed and stretched. When clients come to me and they just feel like they can't get off that hamster wheel of life, I explain part of the work I do as helping you create sustainable patterns that interrupt your cycles of busyness and depletion before you get to that point of being totally fried and running on fumes. So here are 3 practices that have really moved the needle in my life and supported many of my clients. Reclaiming your morning routine, building reset moments into your transitions, and creating a ritual to release the day's stress. This can be after work, before bed, or even both if you need it, and we will talk more about that. So let's start with mornings. If you've been part of the Electric Ideas community for a while, you might have heard me talk about the power of morning routines before. What I've been finding with my clients right now is that they're putting this in the, I know about that, I know it serves me, but I'm not actually doing it camp, which is a funny thing because a lot of women get into this tango with their rhythms where it's like, I know it's good for me, but I'm not actually doing it. And when I do it, it actually creates more freedom and well-being for me that makes me more energized and productive and creative. It's like we know it. Sometimes we just need a little nudge to push the reset button. So I want to share a little fresh thinking about this. First of all, during low capacity seasons like the one I've been having this fall, it's a time when I try to strip down all of my rituals to be as simple and short as possible. So right now, for example, in my own life, I get up before my beds, I meditate, I drink a mug of hot lemon water with sea salt, and that's it. When I have more capacity, my morning routine might look more extended. It might involve movement. It might involve writing, 2 practices that are deeply nourishing for me. But I've learned both personally and through my work with clients that in periods of stress, simplify, simplify, simplify so that we don't abandon. So use this moment, if you're listening today, as an opportunity to just take stock. How are you really feeling right now? If you're feeling resourced and ready for some expansion and like you've got all the energy in the world, maybe it's time to expand your morning routine. If you are feeling depleted, maybe it's time to simplify and choose something that you're just going to automatically do for at least 3 weeks. So you're not making a decision over and over again. Whether I'm working with clients that have some morning routines going on or are kind of in like the camp is hitting my alarm and rolling over a morning routine, regardless of where people are, I always think it's good to bring awareness into the season of life you're in and give yourself a chance to ask yourself where the friction is in your days. If you are feeling stressed, stretched, depleted, like you're getting to dinner time, evening time, time to connect with people, and you're like, I have nothing, then you're probably in a high demand season. And maybe you want to simplify your morning routine and consider something in the morning that really gives you that replenishing, that grounding. So for me, that's meditation. For you, that might be a gentle movement practice or even just sitting outside for a moment to sip your morning beverage. This takes me into kind of thinking about your morning routine can be as much about what you're doing as what you're not doing. I've had some clients tell me almost sheepishly lately that they know getting on their phone right away is not good for them, but it's a tough pattern to break, especially I think sometimes as women when we feel out of control and those stress hormones are just humming in our bodies. It's almost like we get into that mode in the morning of like, oh my God, I'm awake. What can I dive into? What can I do? And we are trying to compassionately, gently interrupt that pattern. So maybe waking up and immediately reaching out for your phone isn't the wisest move if you've been falling back into that. So, my nudge here is that there is only so much we have energetically and cognitively in terms of our resources. And if we are just haphazardly checking our phone first thing in the morning, flooding our systems with notifications and noise that we might not even really be doing anything about, it's just kind of like, oh my God, okay, checking in. It's quite possible that we are spiking cortisol, and if you're already in a high demand season and your baseline isn't great, this can send you right into fight or flight mode. I also feel passionate about reminding my clients that you're giving your power away. You complain that you never have time or energy for yourself. Then the second you wake up, you offer your time and attention to others before you've even touched base with yourself. That is a disconnect. And it's such an easy change that you can practice. I also want to share that I am wading through the research. I am not a scientist, but there's some research I'm finding that is showing that women, especially, might be more susceptible in the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up in terms of like inputs and having sensitivity of how our nervous system is processing things. So it's an opportunity to really be mindful about what you're taking in. This is physically, mentally, emotionally. And remembering that starting your day with something that feels self connected, gentle movement, meditation, journaling, even stillness quite likely helps you build your day from a steadier baseline. If you want to go deeper on how to curate your own morning routine, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 88. It's called Rise and Thrive: How a Morning Routine Can Change Your Life. And that's where you can find a deeper dive on this topic and a more nuanced approach on crafting a morning routine that really works for you. All right, so moving forward, I want to talk about building resets into your transitions. As I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you, I was thinking about the trajectory of an entire woman's day and how we can be derailed so easily by the craziness of the world and just the demands of motherhood. So one thing I practice with my clients is building resets into your transitions. If you're a busy mom who has ambitions and responsibilities, but you also want to be careful about not tipping the scales into exhaustion and overwhelm, I encourage you to embrace transitions as an opportunity for micro pockets of restoration. This could be in the bathroom between meetings. This could be in the pickup line where you choose something soul tending instead of aimlessly doom scrolling. Whenever you're between two portions of your day, you can use these small opportunities as a reset, as a chance to pour energy in instead of give energy out. So let's picture ourselves at the beginning of the day as this beautiful bucket of fresh water, fresh slate energy, especially if you've poured into yourself with your morning rhythm that we just talked about. So we've got this full, beautiful bucket of water. We all know, depending on how the day goes, people and circumstances are going to be scooping from that energetic water of yours all day. I've had a few days lately with kids coming home sick or a huge fail of a project where it felt like someone shot a bullet in the bucket and the water was draining fast. So sometimes the pace of life and the enormous responsibility of parenthood makes small actions like little resets in your transitions seem inconsequential. But I really picture it as so self empowering. Even if you're putting what feels like a tablespoon or a half cup of water in your energetic bucket a few times a day, you can imagine the cumulative effect of intentionally building back up and tending to your own energy over the course of the day, over the course of a week. And it matters. So there's many ways you can leverage transitions to pour back into yourself. I'm going to give you the example of conscious breathing because it's always important for me that you guys can leave any electric ideas episode both with inspiration and something tangible, something you can do right away in your busy mom life like tonight. So one of the most easy things you can do is practice conscious breathing. If we're all lucky, we're all breathing all day, but it's easy for many of us in high stress seasons to really be taking more shallow, contracted breaths that are only into our chest. So pausing for even 1 minute or even 3 to 5 diaphragmatic breaths between segments of your day can be huge. I don't know about you, but nobody taught me how to breathe growing up. And this is things I've been trained in and I've learned along the way. So just in case you need a reminder or no one's ever taught you, I'm just going to teach you right now. So what I like to do is place one hand on my chest and one hand on my stomach. The hope is that you will feel the hand on your stomach move while the hand on your chest stays mostly still. So I like to inhale slowly through my nose. And then I like to picture my ribs and my lower belly expanding in all directions. So my front, my sides, my back. It definitely is a different feeling if you can almost picture a balloon gently refilling and expanding, even towards your back. Another thing to practice if you are taking some nice intentional breaths is to practice not raising your shoulders. If your shoulders and your chest can remain relaxed and soft, and let your belly and your ribs be the ones expanding. You can breathe in, you can pause briefly at the top of the inhale, and then you just get to exhale gently, slowly. You might even draw your exhale out by pretending to breathe out of a straw. So practice making a nourishing choice during a transition. Most of us can manage even a few times a day, 3 to 5 conscious breaths before you step into the new thing. This teaches your body to feel safe again. It's a micro moment of connection. And I also like to think about it in the same way as I think of mourning. It's as much about what you're doing as what you're not doing. When you think about everything you're asking of your mind and body, juggling the motherhood soup of logistics and work and caregiving and the invisible emotional load of whatever is challenging in the individual life of any one of your children, when we fill in every possible blank space of our day with distraction or trying to get something done, we don't give our brains and bodies these small reset moments that help us down regulate our nervous system and stay connected to our bodies. So I invite you to simply pay attention to these really small moments of transition. We all start and stop things throughout our day. Can you take a few breaths instead of filling in these tiny cracks of time with checking emails or doing something that requires energetic and cognitive resources? All right, the third and final practice I want to encourage you to explore today is creating a ritual to release the day's stress, either before work, before bed, or both if you are in a super stretched period of your life. So let's go back real quickly to that bucket of water analogy from before. So if you're following along, you've been putting your teaspoons back in through intentional resets and pauses throughout your day. But by the end of the day, whatever it looks like for you, there's usually some what I like to call accumulation, some buildup. So that's when I like to introduce what I learned from one of my mentors, David G., which is called a raw practice right after work. And right after work can be however you want to define that for you. If you work outside the home, it can be the last thing you do before you go inside. If you're like me and you work during school hours and then you shift into the second shift of motherhood, that's when I practice this. And if you're a full time mom, this is something that you definitely should practice. And I would do it right before or right after you shift into the evening portion of your day as almost a deeper reset. Think of your right after work or raw practice like washing the dishes of your day. They're gunked up dishes with all the flavors. This is your chance to scrub anything that doesn't serve you off and let it go down the disposal. Your raw is an emotional cleanse of the day's accumulated stress and interactions and mental load. So, what do we actually do during our raw? So, for me, my morning meditation is more formal, seated meditation. I'm happy to always answer anybody's questions about that. My raw, I'm a little looser. Sometimes I might do more of a body scan meditation. When I am in my peak stretched times, this usually just looks like me forcing myself to completely shut out of my computer, stop folding laundry, stop whatever I'm doing, pour a cup of tea, and just sit and be still and just recollect myself for a minute before my kids get home. Do I get this right every time? No. Everything I share as a rhythm. If you choose today to show up for one or all of these practices that I've shared today, over time, I guarantee you will feel the difference. So for your raw, find something that makes you feel good or gives you a chance to decompress before you see your people. Maybe it's dancing to one song. Maybe it's just going outside and walking around the block. Find something that works for you and just let it be small and trust it and load it up with honest intention to release anything from your day that you don't want to bring into your evening. And I promise you, you'll see change. I always try to stay integrity with these practices. And I will say, especially with changing schedules and some things that have happened in our family, if I, for whatever reason, don't do my raw practice, I try to make a little time before bed to do something embodied. So I will stretch. I'll put my legs up against the wall. I'll just have a few minutes of intentional shedding of stress. I just wanted to share that from an honest place. That can either be a plan B or something I highly suggest if you are in a period of depletion, giving yourself just one more chance before you get in bed and expect your brain to turn off, connecting with yourself and your body and just seeing if you can intentionally relax a little bit can go super far. All right, as we come to a close, I just want to give you a quick recap. So remember that rest and resets are not just for sleep. Rest is your proactive, intentional way of reclaiming yourself. We are our most creative, joyful, intuitive, ready to share from our best selves moms when we don't constantly override our needs. And I know how hard it is amidst the busy lives and responsibilities you're all juggling. So I hope that reclaiming your morning routine, remembering that from an energetic and mental perspective, your mornings are your own chance to start fresh. And that when we don't fly into other people's worlds and demands immediately, we honor ourselves, we ground ourselves, we root ourselves before we start dispersing energy towards everybody and everything. We also have micro pockets of restoration right before our eyes. Every time we transition from one thing to the next, we can simply place a hand on our heart, hand on our belly, and take a few conscious breaths. Finally, having a raw practice right after work practice, sometimes I call it a bookend to your day, is a powerful structured checkpoint to consciously unload the stress of your day and give yourself a chance to show up as the best version of yourself in the evening. Sometimes life happens and we just don't have it together and we don't feel good and we're wiped. And that's okay. Like that's normal. We can't be always on. So all this work is to be greeted with tons of self-compassion. But just remember that rest is an intentional act of giving your system a chance to soften, and that you can treat the rhythms I've shared today as sacred opportunities for self-connection that will not only help you slow down, but will ultimately help you share of yourself in a truer way. If you're in a season where it feels like you're chasing your tail and you're not sure how to make it stop, you're tired, but you're not feeling like you're getting to the right things or living in a way that's sustainable for yourself, mind, body, soul, I'd like to invite you to explore one-on-one work with me. I have just a handful of open spots. You can find a link in my show notes to schedule a 15-minute call for me and just check in. Let me know what's up. See if I can genuinely support you. I am a warm, friendly person, and I only want to work with moms who feel open and ready for the work, who also feel like it's a good fit. So there is no cheesy, weird sales stalking aspect of connecting. I like hearing individual stories and what the rubs are in my community. So if you're on the fence and you don't want to sign up to chat with me because you're afraid you're going to get into some weird pseudo commitment pressure tango, that's not going to happen. So just don't be shy about grabbing a spot. Whether you are in a period of time where you feel an awakening, whether you're in a time where you feel like there's a lot of collapse, or you're in a time where you might not even know what day of the week it is, my work pulls from ancient wisdom, traditions, and embodied practices, but is rooted in the realistic constraints of everyday mom life. I work with busy moms who have high hopes for their lives, for their families, and probably piles of laundry waiting for them and someone yelling mom as they're listening to this right now. So snag a spot if you want to connect. I'd love to meet you. And I also have some other free resources and a super affordable self-guided program. So no matter what, I'm usually able to connect people with some support. As we come to a close, I always like to end my episodes with an opportunity for reflection. Today, I want to leave you with the reminder that sustainable growth comes from attuned energy versus overexertion. As women, we were never meant to operate like machines. So ask yourself today, where can I intentionally replenish myself so that I might share my energy from a place of overflow rather than depletion? All right, that is it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe to the Electric Ideas podcast wherever you stream if you want to make sure to catch a fresh dose of inspiration every Thursday. I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.